What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Danny the Bull, back with a live stream. And today's a good day. ETH is over 4K. Let me double check the price. Maybe it dipped below prior to my stream getting on here. $4,047 on Ethereum. It's a good day. We've been waiting for this. Things are looking good. We had some volatility over the last couple of weeks as economic data has poured in. But I think the bad news that we got will be good news in the coming months, as the Fed will now be forced to pivot and cut those rates starting in September. So as always, a lot to talk about, a lot of big things in terms of like the macro environment, a lot of news that's bullish for the whole crypto space, that's kind of fulfilling the prophecy of Bitcoin, digital assets going mainstream, and TradFi meeting DeFi. The bricks are being laid. The house is being built brick by brick in live time, and we're seeing it happen. So all good things. And Ethereum at 4K, super bullish for our alts, which are starting to, you see them moving a little bit, but they're not yet, we're not yet in alt season, which is good. I kind of like this steady, small growth, and then it'll happen all at once. So super bullish. I want to talk about all that stuff. I want to talk about Base, which if you've been watching my last couple streams, I've really gotten deep into some more Base tokens. I think Base is going to be a super hot L2 narrative in Q3, Q4. Everything is aligning in September in terms of, you got the rate cuts, you got the Base new wallet coming out, you got the now DEX integration on Coinbase. A lot of big things. I'm really bullish on Base network, Base chain, and have positioned myself accordingly. So I'll talk about some of those projects that I really like. We'll talk about some of the projects that you really like, and let's get into it and see who is here in the house. Sam in the house, always leading off with the first question, and it's always about Mintlayer. I appreciate the consistency, Sam. Hello, sir. Good to see you. Please give some thoughts about Mintlayer when Token Factory L3 mainnet. I don't know when that's going to happen. I did reach out to try to poke around and get some info for you. All I heard was that it's in process. It's not done yet. So I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm hopeful that they can get these things done in time for Q4, and Mintlayer can take part in what should be a nice RWA rally, because I think AI RWA are going to do really well. I'm talking about it for over a year. And I think you'll get some other stuff sprinkled in, like gaming. But hopefully Mintlayer can really take advantage of the Bitcoin narrative and that RWA. Dino Dragon says OMI is a Base token. It is, yes. B-Dubs in the house. What's good, brother? Thanks for coming through. Can you explain in simple terms what the new changes to Base will mean? So it's super big stuff happening over on Base. For one, you've got the DEX integration on their main Coinbase app, which means that effective now, because I think it's already started rolling out in select areas, any token that's on Base network is now tradable in the proper Coinbase DEX, right? And that's where most normies live, right? When I talk to my brother, he buys stuff on, he doesn't know how to get to MEXC. He doesn't know how to use Ourbit and any of the small small exchanges. He doesn't know how to swap in Uniswap or Aerodrome. So he's mostly living in Coinbase. People like him can now swap these coins that are not properly listed in Coinbase in the Coinbase app, right? So that in and of itself is a big deal. Solana tokens are going to be integrated there as well in the future. Chuck will be available in there as well. So anything that's on Base is going to be in there. It's super bullish, right? It's not a proper Coinbase listing that gives it that Coinbase stamp of approval. That's a totally different thing, but it's big for these smaller projects, right? The other thing, which I think is the big catalyst for Base, is coming in September. It's already in beta, and that is their new Coinbase wallet, which is kind of like a super app, right? It's kind of like Farcaster, if you're familiar with Farcaster, which is kind of like Twitter. It's kind of like Farcaster meets a Base wallet. And what it'll be is a whole social feed, like think of Twitter, integrated into Base app that promotes content creation. All the content is coined through Zora, if you're familiar with that. So that will incentivize people to create in there, and it'll have a live feed. It'll have like a TikTok style feed, I think, also for videos. So it's kind of like an everything app for crypto, right? So think of crypto Twitter meets Base app. And that's what that is. And that's a really big deal because, again, that's Coinbase's product and that's available to billions of people. And I think that a lot of Base tokens are going to do really well in Q4. You've seen Zora pop off to 100 and something. I think got the $200 million market cap from 30 million to the 10x with haste, to the 10x within a matter of weeks. We saw, I think it's Tibber, which is came out of the Virtuals ecosystem. It's an AI agent. Get into the $100 million range. So you're seeing Banker now pop off. It hit $100 million. I've been talking about Banker for a few weeks here. And there are a bunch of other things that I think, a bunch of other tokens that Coinbase Ventures is going to promote. And that's the key here, is that Coinbase Ventures wants the Base network to do well. It wants these people who are building on Base to do well. And they are putting their money where their mouth is. I think they put $50 million. I think Coinbase Ventures invested $50 million into Banker, if I'm not mistaken. There's also Clanker, which they're going to backing. They're listing them on Coinbase. So Banker got listed on Coinbase. Clanker has a listing pending, I believe. They're in the pipeline to get listed. So, Base, again, very well positioned. There's a lot of good projects building on Base, and I think they're going to do well. And not to mention that they're going to be valued by ETH, right? As ETH goes up, a lot of these coins that are tied to it through their liquidity pools will naturally go up. And that's something we saw MCADE lean into last week. 4K ETH is beautiful, brother. Let's go to 5K. We'll talk about MCADE a little later, but you've got all these catalysts lining up in the specifically for the whole macro environment, for the whole crypto environment. You got these catalysts, but then you've also got them for Base projects. All right, and one of those is Ethereum. We'll get back to the chat in a second, but ETH has been beautiful, man. It's holding above $4,000, man. What went to sleep last night? I was on X, and I put a post out about ETH getting closer. It was at 39.20, I want to say. Frank the Tank, good friend, said he wanted to wake up to a $4,000 ETH, and guess what, Frank? You got it, $4,000, and it's holding above that, which is good. It went above 4,000, came back down, went above, came back down, and now it's at 40.59. And it's great to see it holding. We'll see where it closes on the daily. But, if it closes above 4K and is able to now, slowly flip this into support, then, yes, our next target is previous all-time highs. And then price discovery. And then we are one step closer to what we call alt season, right? So super bullish. And again, this comes off the back of some volatility in the last couple of weeks. There have been overhangs from the tariffs and from economic data, but the overall trend is up and to the right. We'll get volatility along the way, but things continue to look good. And it's great to see Ethereum behaving like this while Bitcoin is, still below 118. That's at one. It reclaimed 115, which is great to see. But Bitcoin is not, it's not brushing up against its previous all-time high. So Ethereum is showing more strength than Bitcoin right now, which is good to see. It shows that we're, transitioning in this cycle. And we've been tracking this, right? Bitcoin versus ETH over the last month or so. It's continuing the trend. But, we'd like to see Bitcoin, get back into that $118,000 range at least. But good things. And what's also good is Bitcoin dominance is, it looks like a very bearish chart, which is very bullish for alts. It's right here. This is kind of like a tough point to break down below, but if it breaks into the 50s, you'll see alts really start moving. And I talked about this in my last couple of videos. We had a mini alt season here. This was November, December after Trump's election. And that was just with Bitcoin dominance going to 55%, right? Which is a 5% move from here, right? But that 5% move will send us into some form of alt season. Now, balls to the wall alt season like we've seen, like we saw in 2021, then you're talking about, 39%, 40% when alts are really just going nuts. That's what we saw 2021 cycle. So are we going to get down that low? Time will tell. We'll see. But right now, I will take 55% and let's just keep grinding Bitcoin dominance down, pushing our alts up, and should be a nice setup. We got Mateus in the house. What's good, brother? Doodle Lover, what's going on, man? Back. Yeah, smash the like, people. Appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Become a channel member if you want to support Miggles and Treble swap. I don't know what Treble is. Miggles is doing well, man. You're going to see some of these memes on base. Let's pull up Miggles. Miggles up 18% in the last day. Over the last 7 days, up 46%. $39 million market cap. Miggles is one of those, prospective blue chip memes on base. So it's good to see this because, it's good to see some of these OG memes. I think we're going to see some of these OG memes do well, like Chuck and some of the others like Boomer, some of those small caps that had big run-ups in the early days of the base ecosystem. I think money's going to flow throughout and they're going to do well. But talking about the overall bullish, movement and sentiment and all that, the Fed is pretty much going to be forced to cut rates due to the bad news that we got last week. And that bad news caused short-term volatility in the market and pushed prices down, right? And things kind of felt bearish again on the timeline. But long-term, it's good news, right? Bad jobs data is bullish because it forces the Fed to cut. And so if you look at FedWatch probability of a cut in September, now we're at 90%, 89.4% chance of a rate cut in September. And keep in mind that a member of the Fed left and a new member was appointed by Trump. And that person is obviously going to be in favor of a rate cut. So Um, there's a lot. I wonder, I think about all the time, when will this market top, right? When will, um, will we top in Q4? Will we top in 2026? It's kind of hard to predict, in part because of everything in the macro environment, right? Because we're just starting to get rate cuts in September. We're going to get a new Fed chair in 2026. It's hard to say, is this going to be like last cycle where we peak in, Q4, or do things get pushed out to 2026? So we'll share some thoughts on that in a little while, but 89% for September. But if you look at October, you've got a 55% chance of 2 cuts, right? By October, and a 44% chance of 3 cuts in December, right? So we could end up with 3 rate cuts this year. So super bullish setup. On top of that, yesterday, Trump opens the $12.5 trillion 401k market to crypto and private equity access. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like this will now be accessible through 401ks, which is absolutely massive. If people could just allocate a piece of their 401k to crypto, it's going to happen now. This is, we talked about the how Bitcoin gets itself to $1 million per coin, getting to those gold level market cap, right? Of, $5 trillion, $10 trillion market cap. This is how, right? Access to 401ks on balance sheets of big institutions, ETFs, all of these things. But it doesn't stop there, because Wall Street is TradFi and DeFi are going to crash together and merge together, right? We've talked about RWAs, real world assets, and this is on the way, right? This is a good article, and it highlights where we're headed. Wall Street is bracing for a clash, pitting upstart cryptocurrency firms against traditional finance heavyweights. At stake could be nothing less than the future of stock trading. Crypto behemoths like Coinbase, Robinhood, and Kraken have set their sights on the $62 trillion equity market. They want to offer investors the ability to trade tokenized versions of stocks like Apple, Tesla, and JP Morgan Chase. This means those assets could trade cheaply around the clock and around the world, not just when the stock market is open. All right, their efforts are going to set the stage for what could be the biggest regulatory showdown in a generation, rewriting U.S. stocks trading rules in a way that could vault crypto companies into the highest echelons of the financial services industry. Picture it, okay? Picture the tokenization of the whole stock market and it running on the rails of blockchain technology through Coinbase, through Robinhood. And what will it run on? Ethereum, right? It's going to run on, what did Robinhood use the layer 2, I think, ARB or whatever, for their new European platform? Base network for Coinbase. You've got the stable coin regulation. The financial rail system is being built, and a lot of it is going to find its way to Ethereum, right? So you start thinking about a $7,000 ETH at a $1 trillion valuation, and then you think about how could it get to $15,000, which is a $2 trillion valuation. That's how. Does it happen this cycle? I think 15,000, 14,000 is a bit rich for Ethereum this cycle, but long term, This is where things are going, right? The tokenization of everything is going to happen slowly and then suddenly, right? It's why I like Devi. It's why I like Rio when I'm positioned in those things. But Ethereum is going to be a major player there also. Let's get back in the chat. What up? What do you think MCADE could realistically go to? Just your opinion. Yeah, I have no idea, right, where these things go. I don't make predictions or anything like that anymore because it's useless. Just kind of you don't know. No one knows where anything's going to go. But where could things go? So when you talk about base network and base app and how that's going to develop, I think MCADE is really well positioned to sit within the new base app because you're going to have that social feed. And within that social feed, you're going to have a project like Medicaid. They're already developing mini apps. I think their first one is done. There are going to be multiple MCADE mini apps, which means that you'll be able to play their mini games using MCADE token directly in the feed, okay, directly in Base Wallet. All right, so that I think is really big. It opens and then it's big for a number of reasons. One is increased visibility and getting people engaged and on-ramped into their gaming platform. Two, the ability for it to like gain momentum and go viral, right? Think about these mini games like Doodle Jumper, like all of them. I forget which Neon Jet and all these. They have like hundreds of mini games. Imagine one catching kind of like going viral in the feed, and just people competing to get higher on the leaderboard. Imagine when the prize pool for these is $10,000, $5,000, and it's now embedded in the feed, easily accessible. You don't have to go on your desktop or whatever, go into your browser, go into the app or whatever, and open up the website, connect your wallet. It's all in the feed. Three is, Coinbase is going to want, Coinbase Ventures Base is going to want these projects to do well, right? I think that MCADE is kind of positioned really well within there. So where could it go? I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Well, a base case for me for MCADE this cycle would be in like the $400 million. That's a bull case, not a base case, actually. Bullish scenario is, $400, $500 million market cap, which would be about 10 to 15x from here, I think. But I think it has a shot of going to, cracking $1 billion. Does it do that? Who knows? That all depends on capturing hype and things like that, right? And just, tapping in. But they're also one of 6 projects to have an L3 on base, right? They have their own L3. So where could it go? I could see it getting into the hundreds of millions and possibly cracking $1 billion. Although I don't think that that's going to be easy, right? I think that's it's easier said than done. When Bitcoin layer 2 narrative catches up this cycle. Yeah, and that's for Mint layer, which we saw hit, last at the tail end of the last alt season that we had in, what was that, 2023 to 2024, right? You had Tectum and Mint layer running simultaneously. So who's Jim Lovell? What are we talking about, brother? Look that up. Oh, astronaut. There we go. Wow, born in 1928. Uno, what's good, brother? What are your thoughts on LBM, RWA, small cap on base been accumulating? Yeah, I mean, I haven't dug too deep into it. Just from what I hear about it, I like it. I like the sector. Let me pull it up. I bought a small amount. Oh, they came down to 815,000. Yeah, if you like, it's probably a good time to buy down here, right? It's kind of at the lows again. We saw it go up to like $2 or $3 million. But yeah, I think Base Network, RWA, from what I've seen of LBM, I like them as a small cap. Yeah, Devi is looking good. Devi got back up above 50 cents, which is good. They got their public shards people are building on now, or can build on. They're very well positioned, man. If that announcement comes through in Q4 and it is NASDAQ and they are building with NASDAQ, building the financial rails, $5 with haste, brother. I think Devi can do well, but we'll have to see. This I need to do again, so I'll get this done. I need to revise my sheets. I will. What's up, brother? How are you? Hope you're fine. What do you think means the new base features related to the liquidity pool? Which liquidity pool? I'm not sure. So the DEX will be integrated on Coinbase Exchange app or in the Base app. I'm confused because you could swap DEX tokens in Base app already. Now this is in Coinbase. So in Coinbase's proper platform, they will now have a DEX. I think they do in certain places. I think that started. Let me pull up if I have. Then I want to go through some projects. Did I? Here. This is from Brian Armstrong. We're starting the rollout of DEX trading in the US, of course, excluding New York. Our goal is to make Coinbase the simplest way to access on-chain markets. You'll be able to trade millions of Base assets in the Coinbase app. That's the proper Coinbase app, not the Base wallet. Support for Solana is coming soon too. So yeah, that's in the proper Coinbase app. So you can check it out if it's there already. Is OMI still a thing? It is still a thing. Still struggling. Up a little today. But it's struggling to, OMI struggles to get out of, struggles to get out of it. Anytime there's some sort of momentum, it gets sold off. So it's kind of struggling. You think Arrow is a decent? Yeah, Arrow is really good. Big pop today on Arrow. Arrow is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Look at this, 23%. Why is Arrow up 23% today? It's because all of that DEX action is going to be trading through Aerodrome. That's going to be the main. That's the main DEX for Base. So Aerodrome is up to, I think it's closing in on $1 billion market cap. Yeah. 919 million. I think it's going to win. I think it's a winner. It's definitely a winner. All-time high of $2.21. This is going to keep on winning. It's the perfect setup for Aerodrome, right? Yeah, my thoughts on Devi are I really like the team. I I love what they want to do, which is build financial rails for different institutions and tokenize real world assets. And they have presumably a partnership with Nasdaq. I think it's a big deal. I think it could do really well. I'm well positioned in it. It's one of my top holdings. And we saw when there was a rumor of Nasdaq earlier in the year, I think it was this time right here, when everything was down in April, Devi went from 14 cents at the low all the way to over $1 again, right? So I think it's got good potential. The risk that they run is that things get delayed for them and push out into 2026 while the market is going crazy at the end of 2025. But I like Devi. But other base projects that I really like and that I talked about some in the past, Banker continues to do well. I was talking about Banker. I've talked about Banker a few streams back. It was at like a $40 million market cap or something. I think I started buying at 35. And I said it's going to rip. It's got Coinbase behind it. They're going to list it. They got the it was placed on the roadmap to get listed, and it shot up a little, but it was still in a $50 million range. But then once it listed on Coinbase, it went to over $100 million market cap, has since come back down to 80 million. But Banker, to me, is super well positioned for base. I think Banker can go to $1 billion and get up into those, into the $2 billion market cap, because it's so well positioned to integrate in the app. If you look on your Twitter feed, you'll see people using it, right? It's an AI agent that people are actually using to make trades, to buy and sell, to set limit orders, to get TA analysis, all in their Twitter feed. That's now going to be happening in, it's already on Farcaster. It's going to be in Base, the new Base wallet, and Coinbase Ventures is backing it. So to me, it was a no-brainer. These guys are going to continue to run. It's got a great team, and they're continuing to build out new features, right? So I think there's leverage trading coming. There are more complicated and detailed ways of prompts that you're going to be able to use. You can tokenize anything. One of the things that I think Banker has a lot of potential to do, and I want to talk about a meme coin on there that I'm super bullish on. But think about, let me go back to X. One of the things that Banker can do is launch a project with a tweet, right? You can give it instructions. And so here's an example. Someone posted, this is from South Park, right? They had a Mar-a-Lago episode where I think Dora the Explorer got kidnapped and sex trafficked to Mar-a-Lago. And someone said, hey, BankerBot, launch a coin on Unichain called Mar-a-Lago using this image, lock 10%, invest over a year. It will instantly create a coin. So what this can do is, if there is something that goes viral on X and someone is at the right time, at the right place with the right network of people, they can launch a meme coin instantly. That's a fair launch, right? That's just created without allocation given to people. So it's fair launched. And it can go viral on the timeline. Here's what co-founder and CEO at Coinbase thinks of Banker. So Brian Armstrong has used Banker. I'm a fan of AI agents integrating with crypto wallets. Crypto will be the payment method of AI, I think. I've tried Banker a few times. Seems powerful as an idea, but still early. We should all keep working on those to get them ready for mass market audience. So Banker has shot up. It's currently consolidating. I think Banker's going to billions and is really well positioned. And what's really compelling to me is there is a meme coin that was launched with Banker. So it was two AI agents. It was Grok getting together with Banker to launch Grok's first meme coin. And this happened shortly after Grok was given an account and added to Twitter, right? When he was first integrated to Twitter through XAI. Someone prompted Grok to, think about a meme coin that would fit, that would fit in with, I guess, the ethos and launch it with Banker. And he came up with Debt Relief Bot, right, which kind of is in line with Elon's whole beef with Trump and we're cutting the budget and things like that. So they launched Debt Relief Bot, which is DRB. Let me look at it on CoinGecko. I think it just got on CoinGecko today. Here it is. It's not in CoinMarketCap, I don't think yet. So this launched back in March when Grok was first integrated into AI. It went down, and look at the resurgence. And it's over the last 24 hours, it's up 12%. Last 7 days, 35%. Last month, 5x. I talked about this in a couple previous streams, definitely in the last stream. But so this is the first meme coin created by Grok with another AI agent. To me, that's a great crypto story, similar to like Fartcoin, which is the first coin created by an AI agent, right? But this is the first one created by Grok. Another compelling thing about this is that there are trading fees that Grok has control of, essentially, because Grok is the creator. So when you launch something through Banker, the creator gets creator fees, right? So the more trading volume, you get a piece of the coin and you get some ETH along with it, right? Those are the trading fees. And Grok's wallet is nearing $1 million. He's going to be the first millionaire AI. He's got about $470,000 in Banker and $470,000 in Ethereum. So Grok is about to be a millionaire, and that'll be the first AI platform that is a millionaire. And the XAI team is already aware of this. All right, they know that. They know about this. It's only a matter of time before Elon knows about it. Whether or not he'll say anything about it, I don't know. But to me, that's a crypto story. That's a very compelling narrative, right? So do with that what you will. But DRB, I think, is going to do well. When I first bought it, I bought it kind of as I bought it like a $10 million market cap, just as a quick flip sort of thing. But I think it's going to have legs. So I added to it, and I'm going to hold it long term. When I say long term, I mean, this cycle. Top 3 holdings are MCADE, Devi, and I think now it's Banker. Might be my number 3. Yeah, and I've got a lot of Chuck. So those, yeah. Pulse Chain announces $170,000 ETH treasury. Verify on chain. Eli in the house. What's going on, brother? How are you? So, where was I? All right, I'll get back to this later. Yeah, so check that out if you're interested in meme coins with a compelling narrative. I think that's one to watch, and it could break out. If you look at, let's go back to Max. It's up against resistance right here, but it's not too far from price discovery. And I think it will launch. Once it does go into price discovery, if the momentum continues, I can see it getting into like that $100 million air. But another base project is Clanker, which I own. And this is an AI launch pad, right? So this is actually the platform that launched Banker, right? So Banker, which was launched from here, has an $83 million market cap now, and Clanker has a $50 million market cap. But Clanker is also on the roadmap to get a proper Coinbase listing. So I can see Clanker, doing similar things to what Banker did after it got listed and going to all-time highs. I think all-time highs right now it's at $50. All-time high was like $100. There are other projects that were listed or launched from here, Dick Butt being one of them, which is it's a meme coin at a $3 million market cap. Noise also, Noice, I think, was launched from here and is a Clanker. Here it is. Yeah. That's at a $14 million market cap. So a bunch of coins were launched with Clanker. So this is another one. If you're looking for base projects, let's pull up the chart. The chart is good. This is the all-time chart. Solid. All right, you see it's been coiling up, consolidating in this $50 range, all-time high of about $127. What I like about these projects, aside from like the fundamentals, Clanker, Banker, DRB, Debt Relief Bot, is that they have fresh charts, right? They haven't been around for a year and a half, 2 years, where people bought at the high and then it dumped 90%. This is 40% off or 50% off all-time highs. They're a little newer, fresher, so there aren't a lot of bag holders. Do you have a sense of what order the narratives will run? Don't know. And I think it's impossible. I think AI, I mean, it's hard to say, man. A lot of this is driven by just like news and events that are out of our control. So, for instance, if you think back to last cycle, metaverse tokens ran when Facebook changed their name to Meta, right? Something could happen with NVIDIA that could spark, AI tokens. Something could happen with the RWA space. It's really impossible to know what will run when. But should have sold my OMI when you did and accepted the loss. Yeah, I mean, but hindsight's always 2020, right? It's always easier to look back and say that you should have done something. It's not easy to pull the trigger on something that you've been holding for a long time, right? And that you believe in or believed in, that's down. So don't beat yourself up. Some other projects on base. This is OpenServe, which I don't own, but I would. It's another build your agentic app, in hours. So again, it's another AI agent play, and good chart. Let me pull it up. Serve. $46 million market cap. Look at the nice healthy chart. This is the all-time high of 11 cents back in December, right after it launched. But this has rebounded really nicely, right? Up a bit. So at resistance, This is something that I might look to buy if it comes down a bit. I'm not in a rush to buy anything at this point, but OpenServe is a good one. Another one that I've loaded up on recently is Giza, which is, AI agents that enable DeFi trading for you, right? So basically they have this agent called Arma that acts on your behalf and hunts yields for you, stablecoin yields. So it will constantly search for the highest yield and, move your money around to try to get the most money for you. $15 million under their watch right now, and it's a $30 million market cap. Agentic volume of $1 million. This is something that I think could do really well. And I bought a bunch of it over the last 2 weeks. And still cheap, I think 25 million. This is wrong. It's a $25 million market cap. Let me pull it up. Here we go. $30 million market cap. Fully diluted is 247 million. So there's a lot of dilution to come, but it's not coming anytime soon. The dilution will happen over the course of like the next decade or something. The unlocks for, the VC, this is like has team members get a bunch of tokens, as do, I think, early investors, but their tokens are locked for the beyond this cycle. So $30 million market cap. I don't expect to get dumped on in the coming months. Again, the chart looks good, right? I mean, it went to all-time high of about 44 cents. It's at 24 cents now. Once it breaks through this 30-cent level, it could burst through that all-time high and get into price discovery. But again, this is something that I can see Coinbase Ventures getting behind and doing really well. So this is an AI agent / like DeFi play. Giza. I like it. So those are my the base coins I wanted to go through. If you guys have any other things that you want to chat about, drop them in the chat. One other thing that I wanted to touch on was the idea of when will this cycle end, right? And I've been thinking like the earliest it could end, because things move fast, right? Things will happen suddenly, is like September, October. I think the longer it takes for Bitcoin to grind up and for the market to move, obviously the further out it gets pushed. I no longer think September's in play. October, November is possible, but I'm starting to think that there's a possibility that we go into 2026. And Frankie, if you follow him, he's a big MCAD. He's in the MCAD community. Put out a good tweet explaining why the 4-year cycle might not be a good predictor of when we finish this time around. All right. It has to do with the debt refinancing cycle. All right. So I'm going to read you the tweet and then show you a chart that's really interesting and that may give us a clue as to when this cycle might peak. All right, so Frankie says, concerning the 4-year cycle, 4-year cycles are based around the tempo of world debt refinancing. The reason markets have this 4-year cadence is because the average maturity of world debt is 4 to 5 years. This has seemingly been pushed out as the Fed has not signaled any intention of expanding their balance sheet. In a debt-ridden world, we're relying on central banks to bring the liquidity that needs to refinance debt. Right? This is, Trump wants the Fed. That's why Trump is pressuring Jerome Powell to lower rates so that they can refinance our debt at a lower rate. In the States, that liquidity is coming from private banks over the short, medium term, but ultimately will be insufficient. Also, the business cycle, which drives retail speculative frenzy, has been stagnant for the longest time in decades. This is due to tariff trade uncertainty slowing global business, but this is set to rebound quite strongly. Considering the trillions in CapEx coming from Japan, Europe, PMIs, that's the PMI is the business cycle indicator, are set to get a huge boost once the uncertainty is resolved. All right. Basically, the 4-year cycle is only as relevant as the debt refinancing and the business cycle that occurs within it. Those have been fundamentally pushed back. Hence, the 4-year cycle will also likely be pushed back. And if you look at, and this was made famous by, this chart here, along with the M2 money supply chart, was made famous by Raoul Pal, right? Who's a big macro guy. And this is an interesting chart. This is ISM, which tracks the business cycle. ISM versus altcoins. ISM is in black. Altcoins are in pink. All right. What do we notice? All right. We notice ISM going up to over 100% in 2020, 2021. And that's when the alts peaked. ISM dragging all the way down. Alts following suit, going all the way down. ISM grinding sideways for the last couple years. All right, and that's what Frankie was referencing, that the tariff overhang has caused the ISM, has suppressed the ISM because businesses don't have clarity, right? And once they get clarity, they'll feel better, right? They'll be able to execute. So again, here's ISM is down here, and typically when ISM goes above 50, a score of up here 50%, is when alts really kick off. So if this is pushed out into 2026 because of the Fed's decisions and the tariff overhang, which should get some clarity in the next couple months, do we peak in 2026? It's just something to think about. When you look at a chart like this, it's kind of uncanny, right? To see altcoins matched up against the ISM. So it's another thing to consider. And there are a lot of things to consider and to keep in mind when we think about when will this cycle peak. Are we headed for Q4, which would be in line with previous cycles, or were previous cycles just a mirror for or a reflection of the debt refinancing cycle, and that's now been changed. So got to stay flexible is my thing, right? And not marry an expectation. And we'll see how it plays out, but it's another thing to watch. And also you have these macro bullish, things on the horizon, tailwinds on the horizon, right? When we finally get full clarity on tariffs and the business cycle picks up, totally risk on, right? And maybe that's when we get the crazy alt season, and maybe it does get pushed out into 2026. We'll see. Dino says, if I see a certain number, I'm out. Not bag holding again. Can make your plan, brother, and execute it. Right? That's a key thing, is don't be a bag holder of anything. Do you think Chuck would need a base meme narrative to make an attempt to get back? Yeah, I think liquidity coming back into memes is important for Chuck. And you see it if you watch. So if you're on Dex Screener, which is here, This is Chuck's chart, which looks pretty good from the lows of April, right? We held this, whatever it is, $400,000 market cap, or 0004, went on this run. But if you look at who's buying when Chuck starts gaining momentum again, right? And you look at who's buying, it's people who are buying base meme coins, right? You've got people whose area of focus, they're traders of small cap meme coins, Boomer, Crash, OKEgg, all these other projects, Carlo, whatever, all these OG small cap base meme coins. And I think what Chuck needs is liquidity to flow through base, strong Ethereum. And then you get traders coming in, or, people trying to make money off the small caps. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I do think that money is going to flow through those OG meme projects again. And we've seen it, starting to happen. 4-year cycle isn't invalidated yet, so I still bet on it. Yeah. And this is the thing, right? I've got to be open to what I'm not doing this time is setting my expectation that we are definitely peaking in Q4. And just because I had the expectation, because of the previous cycles, that come January, February, we would get an altcoin rally, because that's what's happened in the past, right? And it didn't happen. We bled out. We had this brief run up. We had rate cuts back here, if you remember. I think there was one in October. There was one in December. And I think in December, if I remember correctly, of 2024, Jerome Powell struck like a hawkish tone. All right, maybe that's what really cooled us off. But my expectation was that we would get a nice run into May. Kind of like what we had back here, 2021. Right? We ran in 2020, summer, all right after the halving, cooled off and bled out, right? Bled out to the really hit lows, and then major run up, and had an altcoin season that lasted a good amount of time. This was good times right here, March through June, in this range above 75. All right, March through June of 2021. So I looked at that in previous cycles, and I studied 2017, and I saw coins running in the first half of 2017. So my expectation was it's going to happen again. Right? I thought it's going to happen again, because we've been so cyclical, and sometimes things have happened to the day, right? Where it's like, 348 days after having Bitcoin peaks or whatever it is. Sometimes it aligns to that level of, to that degree. So my expectation was we would get that, and we didn't. All right. So it taught me not to marry an expectation. So right now, here's where we are. This is all empty, right? I think we're going to get back up here in Q4. The question is, will the party be over? Or will we come back, right? And it's going to be impossible to know. So the best we can do is take profits, right? Take profits, keep an open mind, and watch, be very watchful, right? And look for top indicators, All right. And, one that's always kind of worked is the Pi cycle top, when the 50-day moving average crosses over the 100, the 100, and what is it? Two of the moving averages, short-term moving average and long-term moving average cross. It signals that Bitcoin is overheated. And that's happened 2018. See them crossing green and yellow. It happened in 2021. So far, they're still far apart. If you were to extrapolate this out, it would push out into 2026. But that's assuming that Bitcoin continued like a slow move with very long periods of consolidation, which it's done, right? But in order for these two to cross, Bitcoin has to get overheated and get into like some parabolic phase. And then they would cross, right? And that has been a signal in the past that typically the party is about to be over. But right now they're still far apart. But you got to keep all these things in mind. Are you still? Yeah, I'm still. I've still been buying. I did a lot of buying over the last. I've sold some stuff also, so I did a lot of repositioning and buying over the last month or so, moving primarily a lot of stuff into those base projects, right? Positioned very well now in Banker and DRB, Debt Relief Bot, some other really small caps. And, I bought XMW Morphware, which I don't know if Doodle is still here. I built out a position in that. It's done well. Nice chart, I think. I mean, it's down, right? I mean, but it's, or if you look at over the last month, it's up 50%. So, yeah. And if I have disposable cash at these prices, I'd still be buying some stuff. Do you think we peak in September? I'm scared of M2 falling and sell the news event. So again, I don't think we peak in September, but I've wondered if the Fed cuts would be a top signal. There's so many things, man. All right, you got these Fed cuts, but then you're also going to have this overhang of a new Fed chairman in 2026, who's going to be newly Trump appointed, who's going to replace Jerome Powell, who's likely going to be a sycophant and probably juice the markets by cutting rates more. Will that be priced in before he takes his place? I think that's in March of 2026 is when we get a new Fed chair. And they're going to be, they're going to be cuts because it's going to be a Trump guy. Will that be priced in? I don't know. We'll see. We'll watch the Pi cycle top indicator and some other things. Now I think earliest we could peak is like October, November. But again, I'd want to see Bitcoin's got to, it depends on how hard Bitcoin runs. Because Bitcoin has been move up, 200 days sideways action. Move up, 200 days sideways action. That's what it's done this cycle. Right? If it continues that, do we push out? Bitcoin if we're going to peak in Q4, then Bitcoin's got to go, it's got to break out and get overheated. And, but, we'll see how it works, man. I'm excited to see where Ethereum goes. Let's check in. Still holding over 4K during this stream. It's great to see. We're a couple hours away from the daily close. Super bullish. Ethereum closes over 4K on the daily close. Ethereum dominance up to 12%, over 12%. Last cycle got to 20%. Does it get that high? We'll see. But look at the uptrend in Ethereum dominance, up 33% in a month. Ethereum dominance, Bitcoin dominance down 7%. A 40% differential between Bitcoin dominance, ETH dominance. That's a shift, right? That's a transition from Bitcoin to ETH. And what we want to see is the others. This is, excluding the top 50, I think. Top 10 coins, maybe top 10 others, right? This is still not at the cycle. It's still below total market cap of altcoins, still below this cycle's high of 350 billion, right? We're at 295. So we want to see this break out and then get into new all-time highs. Things are going to go nuts, right? When that happens, that's when we have a nice alt season. So things to consider, things to continue watching, continue tracking. I'm super bullish. It's good to have some green days. I got the green background on. I want to thank you all for coming through. Make sure you like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you all. I'll catch you in the next one.